In this video, I will explain why I find unfair the fact that some serves are being called fault by umpires because of a slight spin impartation when tossing the ball. It happened for example to Jinan Yuan, who has an excellent high-toss pendulum serve that she had to put aside for the rest of the match and perform a classical and much less effective backhand serve instead. First, let me remind you what the table tennis rules say about it and why. Rule 2.6.1. Service shall start with the ball resting freely on the open palm of the server's stationary free hand. Rule 2.6.2. The server shall then project the ball near vertically upwards, without imparting spin, so that it rises at least 16 centimeters after leaving the palm of the free hand, and so on. They had to specify this because a long time ago, some players used to impart spin to the ball with their fingers when tossing it up, which was really disturbing and unfair for the opponents. Now with the 2.6.1 rule, it's physically no longer possible to impart a disturbing spin to the ball having it resting on the open palm of the free hand. Let me explain you why. When I impart a really noticeable spin with my racket, which has quite sticky rubbers on it, the ball flies away from my flat racket with an angle of approximately 65 degrees and a speed of approximately 5.2 meters per second. I don't have the tools to calculate the numbers of rotations per second here, but I guess it's pretty high in this case. When I do the same thing with the same amount of spin but I add a little push from bottom to top, a similar push that a server performs when he or she hits the ball, with my flat racket, I reduce the angle with which the ball flies away by approximately 63%. My guess is that this action not only impacts the direction of the ball, it also impacts its rotation, even though it is just a flat push here. Then when I try to impart as much spin as I can to the ball with just the palm of my free hand, I get an angle on my flat and still racket of approximately 7 degrees, 9 times less important than my previous test, and a rejection speed of approximately 1.5 meters per second, 5 times less important than my previous test. I still don't have the tools to calculate the numbers of rotations per second I get here, but I guess it's pretty low this time. Let me add a little flat push from bottom to top to my previous cheaty toss. The ball bounces on my racket with no perceptible angle, and the slight spin I was able to give with my free hand's palm in the first place seems to be null for the next shot. Now, an average honest player tossing the ball with his open palm should at worst impart 2 or 3 times less spin than I did in my experiment, which is what anyone should get with a high toss since the ball naturally rolls a bit in the air. Thus I guess we could say that the amount of spin one can naturally impart to the ball with the palm of the free hand when tossing it a bit high, is inconsequential after the ball has been hit and spinned by the server and has crossed the table. The initial potential toss spin factor becomes epsilon, as they say in physics. My point is, unless you obviously try to cheat by imparting as much spin as you can with your palm, which requires a specific tossing gesture, calling a non-legal serve for this reason is unfair in 99% of cases because the impact of the spin one can naturally give to the ball with the free hand's palm when tossing it is imperceptible for the receiver after the ball has hit the server's racket and then the table twice. So now, what do you think?